Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I am Kyra Mitchell-Lewis. I hope you guys are all doing well and taking care of yourselves. Today, we are talking support. And by that, I mean women supporting women. As women, we often hear and we say these things. When women support women, amazing things happen. Or empowered women empower women. But what does that support and empowerment really look like? And do we really show up through our actions when it matters to our sister circle? The support I'm speaking of goes far beyond the initial purchase. It's the support you would show your favorite actor, athlete, musician, or a major brand. Are you telling your friends in your circle about women entrepreneurs and their businesses? Are you liking and sharing their social posts? And if you are a business owner, are you sharing tips and resources with other women business owners? If you're one of the entrepreneurs that's experienced success, are you openly sharing how you did it? I hear a lot from women that they don't feel they get support from their circles, or sometimes they don't receive the support in return that they give. My thoughts is that there's enough room at the table for all of us. And it doesn't dim your light when you support another woman. Actually, when another woman feels supported, she then really feels empowered. My guest today is on a mission to do just that. Sarah Baucom is one half of the dynamic duo that founded Gyrl Tribe. Gyrl Tribe is an organization based in North Carolina that supports women business owners and entrepreneurs, and they use their platform to tell those stories and to provide opportunities for women. So Sarah is going to join me today to talk about her journey to Gyrl Tribe, doing business in the new normal, standing up for injustice, and supporting women. Really excited to bring this conversation to you guys. So sit back and relax, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I am Kyra Mitchell-Lewis. I'm so excited to welcome Sarah Baucom, co-founder of Gyrl Tribe, an online community that's dedicated to supporting and helping women find their magic. They also have a boutique in Charlotte, North Carolina that offers a range of the cutest clothing and accessories. And also they are the founders of the oh-so-popular Gyrl Tribe Pop-Ups, a one-day shopping event featuring women-owned businesses. I have long admired what Sarah and her co-founder Kerry are doing to support women, but more recently, with all the social unrest in our country, Sarah and Kerry have stepped up in an even bigger way to support the Black women in their Gyrl Tribe community. That, among other things that they're doing, is why I wanted to have Sarah join me for a chat today. So thank you again, Sarah, for joining today. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm good. This is my favorite season. So as long as the sun is out, I'm good. So thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I'm just sad I can't see you. I loved our Skype. Like, I got off our call and I was like, Ryan, talking to my husband, I was like, I have a new best friend. I think we're like the same person. It's so much fun. But I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I literally talked about you to several people that day. And I was telling my husband, I was like, when you're like talking to somebody that's exactly like you. And I said, and she understood like how I like throw things at the wall, see if they work, how like this is a creative disaster to some, but it's like how we think. I said, so I was so very excited. And my husband was just like, oh, that's great. That's great.
They never know what to do with us, though, do they? They're like, good job.
Right? I was like, wait, is this like petting me like the dog? I mean, or what? Anywho, well, we'll go ahead and get started because obviously with the podcast, we do feature a lot of entrepreneurs. And so I'd like for you to just start off by talking about your background. And have you always had this desire to be an entrepreneur?
So my story is as lengthy as the day is long, so I will try to keep it short and sweet. But just growing up, even, I had a ton of different interests. I was never that kid who was, to be honest with you, particularly good at anything. Not that I was terrible at things except for science and math, but it was more like everything seemed so interesting to me. Art, dance, music, theater especially were those were sort of my wheelhouses back then. And so when I went to college, my undergrad degree is actually in dance. And so I was a modern dancer, but just really kind of not lost passion, but I think I kind of saw writing on the wall. I wasn't going to make a company or anything like that. So out of college, one of my girlfriends was like, "You'll be really good as an event planner for a ballet company." And I was like, okay, when you're like 21, you're like, sure, I can do anything.
Right.
And so I called up the local ballet company in Charlotte and I was like, hey, you need an event planning intern. And they were like, we've never had an intern. And I was like, well, cool. I'm just going to come work for free. That's cool, right? Okay, see you Monday. And basically I just did everything until they gave me a real job, until I became the event planner. And I did that for a year. And then it was kind of one of those things where I was like, I don't think that I'm meant for this life. That ballet was going through a lot of changes at the time. And I was 22 and I just thought, okay, well, I'm going to go to New York. And so I moved to New York. And so I found an apartment on Craigslist on Friday afternoon. And I found an internship that same Friday. And they said, when can you start? Can you start Monday? And I was like, sure. So I drove up to New York City the next day.
Wow.
And I worked for a fashion company for a little while there. And I was an intern there as well. And my parents were like, that was really fun, but we'd love for you to not get paid in clothing anymore. And we'd love for you to get paid in cash. And that's not how the fashion industry worked in the, I don't know, what do you call it? Mid-aughts, I guess. This is pre-recession. So I came home and I started working for my dad, who is in construction. And I was like, this is totally not what I want to do. Now right. All of a sudden I'd been out of college for 2 years and I'd have 3 careers. And I was just like, okay, well, that's a little bit like, I like it, but it's not it. And so I kind of kept trying different hats on. And so during the recession, obviously my hours and pay got cut in the construction company. I was just filing papers and whatever. And so I went back to school and I got my interior design degree from the local community college. And I thought, well, maybe this is it. Maybe I'll be an interior designer. And then I finished that degree in 11, 12. And that's when I met up with Kerry. And I met back up with Kerry, who's my business partner. And we went to high school and middle school together. And the reason we met up is because she was the only female architect that I knew. And I think that's a really important part of our story because, of course, my dad was friends with all these male architects, but I don't feel comfortable as a 26, something like that year old. I couldn't reach out to a male architect. I mean, what are they going to do? They were like, get away. I just felt like nobody kind of cared who I was or what I was trying to do, or no one there was just not the time of day. Right.
Right.
But although Kerry and I didn't run in the same circles in high school, I felt comfortable enough to just message her on Facebook and say, hey, I see that you're a female architect. Or I said, I see you're an architect. Can I buy you a cup of coffee? And then we met and I was like, yeah, I might want to do commercial interior design. I was really interested actually in nursing homes and long-term care facilities, because I think there's a lot of importance. I know that you like mental health is a big subject for you. And so I thought, well, gosh, if you could design these places where they just are a little better than they are, right. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It's just about understanding the psychology of it. And so that was really interesting to me. And Kerry and I met and she was like, yeah, I mean, this is kind of post-recession, most architects took over interior design jobs at that time and were getting paid for one job doing 2 jobs. And so I was like, at the end of the conversation, I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really want to be an interior designer. I've gone through all these classes and I did great. I mean, it was the first time in my life that I really became disciplined about school and this kind of thing. And I was like, you know what, I kind of want to start an online dress boutique. And Kerry was like, you know what's so funny? I don't want to be an architect either anymore. I started doing graphic design because post-recession, like Kerry's story is kind of interesting, but she, their architect firm went from 70 people to 12, and they kept her, usually it's first one hired, last one, or last one
hired, first one fired.
Yes. But Kerry was like, I got nowhere to go. You're not getting rid of me. She was like gripping on, so she figured out everything. They said, we need a new website. I'll figure out how to do a website. We need a new logo. I'll figure out how to do a logo.
Right.
Literally anything. Like she'll tell a story of like the printer broke one time and they were like, we can't afford to go get it fixed. And she's like, I got it. That's how Kerry became the IT department. And that's why, so it's this joke that Kerry's always the IT department. So anyway, so from that moment on, she said, well, you want to start this dress company? I said, yeah, I have some contacts when I used to live in New York, and my grandfather had just passed away, and he left all of his grandkids just a little bit of money. The rest of my cousins were like, went and like invested it, I'm sure, and did like really smart things. And I was like throwing it at the wall. And I was like, I've got this amount of money. I'm going to start a business. And so that's what I did. And so Kerry did my website and did my logo. And we were kind of tied from that point on, even though we had separate companies. So she started Pink Toast and I started what was called Social Dress Shop. And so the idea with Social Dress Shop was I was in my mid-20s and going to, however many weddings in a year, 15 weddings and showers. And back when we could go to weddings and showers. This seems very archaic now, that we're not allowed to have events or be near each other. But anyways, we used to be able to get together and this thing. And so I just thought, well, this is cool, and so I flew up to New York and I met with some designers. And so it was important to me to only carry American-made dresses, only carry women-owned businesses, American-made. So that was what Social Dress Shop was. It was dresses to wear to social events. And so I learned a lot through that. And I did that for 2 years while still working with my dad. And so I did that nights and weekends and worked with my dad full-time because although the business did okay, it was... I never took a paycheck ever. I never took a paycheck. I didn't even dream of taking a paycheck. That wasn't even what it was. I was just like, who am I? What am I trying to do? And for me, finding who I was able to find out more about myself through entrepreneurship than I was by doing all the other things. And so I was online only, and this was 2012. And that was still, people were like, wow, how'd you figure out how to do an online shop? It's like, now I could launch anyone can launch a business in 20 minutes, you sign up for a Shopify or an Etsy account and you're like, boom, selling things. Back then it was a little different. So I learned how to do photo shoots and do model casting calls and figure out how to talk to customers. And I mean, even though it was just me, I had like a fake customer service account. So if you emailed and you're trying to return something, you didn't talk to Sarah, you talked to Britt. So Britt was my customer service girl, even though she was me. And that's like a great tip though. Like I would totally, I tell all entrepreneurs, I'm like, get a fake customer service person, like, because it removes you from the situation.
It was like a virtual assistant before. See, look at you being ahead of the time.
I know. It was my virtual assistant because I'm just so weird. Like I was just like, I had this whole story about her. Anyway, so then I did Social Dress Shop for 2 years. And then I had my first daughter in July 2014, which is July 10th, 2014. So actually today is her birthday. And
happy birthday.
We celebrate all month long with this one. But after I had her, I took like a true maternity leave, which I'm really grateful for, because with the second kid I wasn't able to do that. And it gave me some really good time to reflect. The great thing about being an entrepreneur and going on your own maternity leave is that you can kind of like, I was just kind of like, I don't have to do anything. Like nobody's expecting anything from me. I was literally just like BRB, and then like, just kind of left everybody hanging. And then, after about 3 months, Kerry and I met back up, and I was just like, I'm going to be honest, like this isn't it. I thought it was it. It's not it. I don't want to sell other people's stuff anymore. I want to make my own stuff. And I also saw that like, people would give me tidbits and feedback. And this is always so important as an entrepreneur to listen to. I love that dress, but I mean, the dress were more expensive, $200 or something, because they were American made and they cost me a ton of money to buy. And
right.
Well, I can buy something really similar from Zara. I want to support you, but why would I buy a $200 dress when I could buy a $40 dress that looks really similar from Zara and it's free returns and you can't argue with that, right? It's like arguing with Amazon. You can't argue with it. But I kept hearing it. And the other important thing that was happening during that time was fashion itself used to be on this like cycle of 6 months to a year out. Things were designed and started to be produced. And so when you go to market, you buy 6 months out. So I was in market in February and I was buying things for, holiday season. Well, what happened during these times? Instagram, the dawn of, Instagram, influencers and the quickest changes of style and what was hot and this kind of thing. I mean, it went from 6 months out where you could leave something on a shelf for a little bit longer to now it was like, I remember when midi rings came out and then like, a couple weeks later, people were like, wait, are they just selling like smaller size rings and putting it on your knuckles? But like, for like 3 weeks, it was like, I couldn't keep up with it, with the fashion, calendar as it was. So, and so it's just a lot of things. I was just kind of like, there's not a future here. This is not my future. Someone else might take this and run with it. But anyway, so I kind of shut it down. And Kerry and I were like, yeah, let's start our own thing. Let's start a graphic t-shirt company. People seem to really like graphic t-shirts. I think we have a lot to say. And the thing that was happening within this couple of years between when I started Social Dress Shop and when I closed it was Kerry and I had an enormous group of women that we were relying on, that were relying on us constantly. I'd call somebody up, hey, I think I filed my sales taxes wrong. What do you got? You got a person? You're like, what do you? So I had these like great women entrepreneurs around me, like, mostly in the Charlotte area at the time. And that was kind of like our tribe, that was sort of we just, that's what we needed and they needed us. And we all were just supporting each other. And the idea behind Gyrl Tribe in its conception and even now, and sometimes it's easy to lose sight of it when we have cute things and it's very product heavy right now, of course, because we're not doing events right now, but it still happens where, women will, sometimes we end up fighting over what Kerry and I kind of say is like the same land. We say like the same land. And when really we should just be pushing each other forward. And we can all make more money if we push each other forward. And that was kind of the grand experiment of Gyrl Tribe pop-up. So anyway, so that was the whole idea with Gyrl Tribe was, and actually we started out as Pink Social because she was Pink Toast and I was Social Dress Shop. And when you're like in middle school and you have best friends and you guys all merge each other's names, we did that because deep down we're still in 7th grade. And so
it was like you were like a celebrity couple merging your names together.
Yeah, nobody cared what we did. So yes, it's the same but different. And that's how we started. And so we both put in $100 and we bought a couple blank t-shirts and we found a screen printer that she knew because she was at that point she was full-time with graphic design and was doing wedding invites and websites and things like that. So she had a printer that was doing wedding invites for her and they were like, yeah, we can do screen printing. And so we learned the ins and outs of screen printing and vinyl pressing and minimums and how colors show up on different materials and that kind of stuff. And so it was kind of bringing all of this together. And that is how Gyrl Tribe started in November 2014. And we actually launched on Small Business Saturday, which is also a really special day for us. We didn't do that on purpose. It was just, that was when we could get the shirts. And somebody had a shop down the street from where our store is actually now. And it was one of those stores that's kind of run on consignment where, you go in and there's like hundreds of brands and everybody has their own sort of little table. And this girl just like emailed us randomly and was like, I feel like you guys are up to something. Do you want to put something here? I have an extra table. And we were like, okay. And that's how we got started. And, we never put any more money into the company, knock on wood. That's an IKEA table. I've got to find some real wood. But anyway, so, we never put any more money into it, but we never took money, and we didn't pay ourselves for, I think, 3 years. So, continued to work with my dad and Kerry continued to do graphic design for, full time. And until we were able to, so, so you're talking, it was 6 years or something before I gave myself a paycheck from when I started to become an entrepreneur.
Wow. Yeah. And that's really important, because I think a lot of people feel like, they're ready to get paid. And I think that sacrifice shows why you've been successful.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think we definitely, we made some big mistakes in those times when it comes to taxes, which is a whole different conversation.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and honestly, we were also really lucky that we were able to keep our jobs and to continue to do them pretty well while we were building this business on the side. And those first like months or years of your business are like the honeymoon stage. Like, you are like, I will do anything for this. I will meet everybody. Yes. I will, you are just everything you can. You are like, I know this is something because it's in my heart, and you want to put it forward. And that is, it's like a drug, you keep trying to get back to that feeling once you kind of do get to the next step. So, and then so Kerry and I did the graphic t-shirt thing on the side for a year, goofy sayings to girl power sayings. Things are obviously, fashions change and trends change and that kind of thing. But what we printed in 2015 are things that we probably would not print now. But, I think we had a shirt that just said summer on it. Like, it was just like, that's cool. I like summertime. It was like, we didn't know.
Hey, it is your favorite season.
It is my favorite. And I'm a Leo. I'm an August birthday. So, so yeah. And so so we did that for a year. And what had happened in that time was that all of a sudden, now that we had sort of put our like flag in the ground, and we were like, okay, this is our space. Anyone is welcome. Anyone and everyone is welcome. If you get truly in your heart that, like, if we can all work together and push ourselves forward together, then we are going to all make more money instead of us arguing. Because there are, no matter what industry you're in, your peer, your quote competitor, whatever it is, and women, there are a lot of times where it is. Maybe it's imagined, or, these like quote cat fights and things like that. No,
right.
No, we're women, we're grown ass women. We're going to move forward, and we're not going to deal with that. So what our thing was, we were no longer going to be playing those games. And once you stop playing those games, you never go back to it. If I ever hear of women talking bad about other women now, it makes me so incredibly uncomfortable. I don't feel the urge to jump in. In fact, my urge is, you know what? If you're going to talk like that, I'm out. Right. But if you want to switch the conversation, I'm back in. And I think that's obviously it's really important just for,
I think too, what you mentioned earlier about just, women, there's enough for all of us, there are enough seats at the table for everyone to have a space and to be able to tell their stories and to work together. And I think that is a thing that, I try to push as well, really, with Glow Up Girl. And I know you guys are, like, hey, let's support each other, because we all have different connections and we all are good at different things. And so we can help each other to all be successful. And I think that is definitely the feeling, that I get when I see what you come into one of your events, or, seeing the type of gear that you produce is definitely very much, it feels like a community of women supporting each other.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It feels so good to talk about it right now. So I thank you for giving me space to talk about it. This has obviously been an interesting year. It's nice to kind of get back to that, where it's like, this is our hearts, and I know this is your heart as well. And I'm sure your listeners too. And so, once you kind of get to that place, it's not like enlightenment or anything. It's just basically like golden rule. Like, it's like what your mom taught you, but like really applying it, and not only in your everyday life, but also in your business. And then you get your business, and then you push other businesses forward. if that's not what we're here for, I don't know what it is, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so kind of all of those thought process, and we were having great conversations, and we used to host these brunches at our old office, and we were just like trying to figure out, like, where are women right now? Like, where are the entrepreneurs in our circle of friends and our, extent? I mean, people would just show up. We would put it on Facebook. We'd be like, okay, like, we're having brunch, like, bring a mimosas or bring donuts or whatever you want. Like, we're just going to hang and listen to music and just talk. And that's what, and so we used to do these things. And then, so that kind of fueled the idea. We had something sort of happen to us, like, we were like this whole year of like, okay, girl power, like, we're going to support each other. And then we had this group of women who literally tried to take us down, which is like so silly now to think about it, because it's like, anyway, and I'm not even going to give it the power. And so I was like, okay, what are we going to do in response to this? And in response to that, we started the Girl Tribe Community Facebook group, which is now like 22,000 women. And that was really and that did not mean to get big at all. That was simply just because I was like, well, this will be a great place. Like, when I'm talking about, hey, does anybody have an accountant that they really like that, specializes maybe in a small women-owned business? That was really just supposed to be this community resource. And so what came out of that, though, is that people were asking, hey, there's so many cool female entrepreneurs in this community. Can we have like an event together? And I was like, oh, like a pop-up shop? Like, that could be cool. And Kerry, and so the story goes is that Kerry was pregnant at the time, and she went away to a retreat, like a women's retreat, and they took their cell phones so they weren't distracted. I can't remember the name of the retreat, but she had a great time. It was great for her. And I feel like it was in like the mountains of Tennessee. I think Tennessee has mountains. Yes, that's fine. Yes, I'm sure that's right. Yes, that's right. And I was like, before she left, I was like, hey, Kerry, do you want to have like a pop-up shop for like holiday season? And she was like, no, I'm 34 weeks pregnant. I'm not going to do that. And I was like, okay, I got it. And then I was like, hey, everybody, we're going to do a pop-up shop in December. And she couldn't say anything because she didn't have her phone. And so when she got back, I was like, so here's our next thing. Right. And so we just basically invited women. They like paid us like $20 a booth. It didn't even cover our fees to rent out this like small brewery. But we're like, this will be cool. And that's how Girl Tribe Pop-Up started. And I mean, even back then, I remember us, like, we were inviting all the boutiques in Charlotte, and, all these girls kind of came out and they're like, oh, I have a candle business, or I have whatever. We're like, come on, let's do it. Yeah, let's all come in, whatever. Like, Kerry's like super pregnant. We're like taping and measuring the floors of this like brewery. Like, she will never let me live. Like, she was like, never let me down. But even then, we had boutiques that were like, oh, I don't want to be next to so-and-so because they carry the same line I do. Or, I'd have one girl that's like, well, I know that girl looks at my Instagram, and I'd be like, y'all,
oh my God.
Nope. I mean, and we still deal with that with vendors, but we're so much clearer now in our messaging, right? And we're like, you know what? That's actually why we wanted you all here. Do you understand that? That's why we wanted you all here. We wanted, like, what we thought was kind of double prong. We're going to open this garage door. So we set these big garage doors in our pop-up. We open this garage door and people just come on in. And so what we're going to do is we're not only going to show physical space for women entrepreneurs that were mostly online at the time, probably, and come in and sell their stuff, that we're inviting the community to show up and to show them what women look like when they're supporting each other. And then they're going to go and support the people that they came to see. And then not only that, they're going to find new customers. And so what I'm saying earlier is that's kind of rising tide lifts all boats. It's exactly what happens at Girl Tribe Pop-Ups, is that you come to support your friend's business, and then you start looking around and you're like, okay, well, this music's good, and I'm gonna go get a cocktail, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go find other women that are cool and have cool different points of view and perspectives and that kind of stuff. And that is how Girl Tribe Pop-Up started. Now, we did not think that was going to be a business by any means, but at the end of it, Kerry's sitting down, her feet are swollen, she hates me, but it was successful. People came in, they loved it. I mean, my husband worked the door, and he was just like counting people in. We didn't have, it was just me and Kerry. That was it. and they were like, okay, when's the next one? And I was like, I don't know, April? That sounds like a good time. And everybody was like, okay, see you in April. And then from then on, we've had like, I don't know, 23, 24 large scale events. And we started traveling and, we go to Atlanta, Nashville, Jacksonville. We've been to Greenville, South Carolina, Charleston, Raleigh. This year we thought we were going to get to New York, and I think I'm not going to do that probably this year, but it could still happen. And we started going to conferences, which I think is really important for female entrepreneurs, is to find conferences and other kind of big gatherings where you can just see a lot of different things and you can try on hats. And so we were going to like Create and Cultivates, and they have some really, obviously their branding and everything they do is just really beautiful. And we were like, dang, I mean, if this girl's traveling around, why can't we travel around?
Right. Yeah.
And so instead of me thinking, well, she's already traveling around, I can't travel around, I thought, well, yeah, me too. I can also do
why
that,
not?
I just have a lot less money.
Right.
But when we started just making connections that way, and then in 2017, someone knocked on our door and they were like, hey, I have a spot, an opening. I have this kind of strip center we're trying to redo. Do you guys want to do a pop-up shop? And it was kind of like, they meant like a shop, like our own shop, but just for a couple of weeks. And I had just found out I was pregnant with our second, and it was kind of like roles reversed. And I I was like, no. And Kerry was like, we'll take it.
You know what? Go Kerry. That's right.
I know, right? And we didn't leave. They made us sign a lease, and that was kind of like big girl pants on. So then the store became just different. So the store is not the pop-up, it's the different. So I can buy, like I did for Social Dress Shop, and we can show our own stuff, which our own line has grown. And then the greatest thing that I love about it is that we get a lot of comments where, people are like, well, I'd love to see this kind of clothing and that kind of clothing. And I'm like, well, yeah, totally. That's what's easy to sell online. But in our store, we sell, like when you're looking at category allocations, we sell more accessories than anything else. So we're really more of a gift store, like in person. And that's hard to kind of convey online. And we're working through that. But so if you walk into our store, anything that doesn't have our name on it and isn't from like LA fashion is made from a women-owned business. And they don't necessarily have to be local, because I buy from all over. So that's our store. And so we've had a store, and now we have the pop-ups, and they're all postponed right now, of course. But so that is my entrepreneur journey. Yeah. And a lot of tears in between that. I know it doesn't sound like that, but there's a whole hell of a lot of failures in there, and I'm doing them every day.
Yeah. And you definitely, but I think you definitely have a good time with it. You don't let it hold you down, and you keep pressing and moving forward. So I think that is really a thing that as an entrepreneur, you have to do. Like, you can't just stop if something at a no. If someone says no, or someone doesn't do something, or it doesn't work out the first time the way you thought it would, you have to sort of keep pushing through as well. So tell me, why does the partnership with Kerry work so well?
Dang. Well, we're completely opposite people. Kerry is an introvert. Kerry is like into logistics, and she's thoughtful and methodical, and she processes things. Oh my God. I'll ask her a question and she'll just stare at me for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, did you hear me? She's like, I'm processing it. And I am completely the opposite. I leap before I look. It's taken me a really long time. I was not always this kind of confident, person. And I still don't honestly feel that way sometimes, but I'm seriously much more than, I was really shy, scared kid, and kind of embracing that. And I'm loud. I come from a theater background. I'm the youngest of 5. So anything, I'm like, look at me, always look at me. Hello. And so so in that way, Kerry and I kind of work together in that sort of opposites attract. But in all reality, we work together because we trust each other. I trust Kerry. Like, there aren't even really words for our relationship. Like, people are like, oh, what's it like to be in business with your best friend? I'm like, my who? Oh, yeah, her? No, she's more than that. That's different. And she's not my sister. She's more than that. It's
Right.
our relationship is just like, it is a different type of weird marriage, but it works because we just trust each other. And when I'm down, and dang, that happens, and I will get real down, because when you get real up, you get real down. And when I get real down, I mean, Kerry is literally, I mean, she's there for, like, I think a couple years ago, after my my second daughter was born, like a month later, I was back at work. I came home and I was looking over, and my dog collapsed, and we ended up having to put him down that day. We didn't know he wasn't sick or anything like that. But let me tell you who Kerry is. Kerry is that person that I called, and I'm hysterical and I'm snotty and I'm like, I think we're gonna lose him. Oh my God. And I'm like postpartum and trying to figure out how to work, and all this bad stuff was happening at work. We had an investment deal fall through. Our PR company fired us. I mean, it was just like, okay, cool. Anybody else? And then 2020. But that was funny thing in 2018 was tough. But anyway, so I get to the vet, and I have my newborn baby, and I don't even have food for her. I don't even have diaper. I just ran out the door with the dog. I just ran to the vet, and I'm just hysterical. And Kerry comes, she swoops in, she takes my car, she takes my baby home, she feeds my baby, she puts her down, she waits for my husband to get home, she waits for my big girl to get home. I mean, that's Kerry, that's our relationship. So I don't know what you call that, you call that just your person, right? It's funny. So I don't know. I don't, for sure. Yeah. So I'm really lucky, and not every partnership works like this.
No, they don't. So I think you're very, very blessed to have her, and she's blessed to have you. So let's talk about now. Obviously, your store has reopened, and you're doing business during the pandemic. What changes or what things have you done differently with your business to adapt to this time, and how's that working for you guys?
This is the thing about being an entrepreneur, right? Like Kerry and I told you, I make up fake songs a lot. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes we'll just sit at our desks and I'll look at each other and we're like, what do we do today? What will we do today? And that is our song of the year. And like, what will happen to us today? And, going to market in Vegas in February, I had a lot of vendors that were like, encouraging me to overbuy for the store. Hey, I just want to let you know, like, China's kind of starting to shut down. I think that you need to overbuy, because anything that's not already stateside, you're not going to be able to get it. And I was like, yeah, but no, like, I'm not going to overbuy, like, no. But I listened that, like, oh, if China's shutting down, that means things are happening and things are moving. And that's February. And I'm by no means like up on all, I don't know. I was just like, okay, this is something. So then by the time we were supposed to have our March pop-up in Charlotte, it was like March 10th or something. I was like, okay, the first case is in New York. Okay, the first case is, whatever. And so Kerry and I kept calling it the glass break moment. When are we going to change our business? We knew we're going to have to. And so the glass break moment to me is like in an action film when like the hero, breaks, like Liam Neeson, he's like breaking the glass to get the fire extinguisher or the axe or whatever it is, when are we going to make that call? And we said, okay, well, the first case in Charlotte Mecklenburg will shut down the pop-up. But we did it before then. It just that week, whatever that week was, I can't even look back at the calendar. That week was terrible.
It was like the third week in March, because that's when everything everyone started to say, oh, okay, you're going to need to close down. You need to work from home. You're going to need to do this. Yeah.
Happened
Seems like so long ago, but my gosh, it was,
we were all so scared. And I remember I was like, I looked at the team, I brought the team together. And at the time we had 7 full-time employees, and I brought them together and I was like, hey girls, things are going to look different. And they're younger than us. And I was like, I don't know. And Kerry and I are like, I feel like, have like grandmas that talk about like the depression, and you'd be like, okay, grandma, whatever. Yeah. People didn't have money. Okay. And then that's how we feel about the recession though, cause like like everyone's dreams in this generation were just like, whew, gone, if you want to do anything kind of fun, it was gone. No, and
Right.
people were just, houses, and it was terrible. And I was like, this could be what this looks like. This is my biggest fear kind of coming back. And I was like, but here we are, we're prepared. Okay. We can flip things. We're going to do what we can. I can't guarantee you that nobody's going to get laid off. I can't guarantee you that nobody's going to take a pay cut. I can't, whatever. But I was like, the first thing that we're going to do before we make any moves is Kerry and I are going to stop taking paychecks. Because I'm not going to not pay these girls who are so dedicated and so wonderful. And I was like, I'm fine. I'm fine. We're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just stop that. So we stopped paying ourselves immediately.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to shut down the pop-up, which was tough because, we had 200 vendors. And at the time, not everybody saw it coming, They're like, This is preemptive. This is blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe it is. And maybe we did it. And that was the worst mistake we've ever made to keep people safe. But, at the time we didn't know anything about the virus, and it still feels like we don't know anything. And inherently I was a little selfish with it. My husband has an autoimmune disorder, and, they were like, hi. And people were like, oh, it's just old people. I'm like, no, it could be my husband.
Exactly.
And I, you got people's money on the line and stuff like that. And no, nothing is as important as lives. Right. So,
exactly. Yeah. So true.
So we shut it down. And then 2 days later, we shut our store down. And so we were the first retail to shut down in Charlotte. Cause we just didn't know what was going on. We're like, maybe we reopen. And remember, we said 2 weeks. Do you remember the 2 week thing? Isn't that so funny?
Yes, I remember that. It was like,
what can happen in 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, okay, so we'll see you back. We'll see you back in the office. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just knew like that day
you left like food in the refrigerator. You're like, I'll see you later, pimento cheese.
See, I felt like I knew like something on the inside was like, no, you're not going to be back in 2 weeks. So just go ahead and adjust your mindset,
Yep, that's exactly. Yeah. And that's what we had to do. And I remember seeing the girls leave that day and watching them all pull out of the cars and thinking how hard I've worked to have the office that we do. We have a little office, little warehouse, kind of, by the airport. And we, and I'm watching, my husband's calling me. We were watching all the cars drive out, and I started crying, and I was like, it will never be the same again. And it hasn't been. So we were like, okay, well, this could be really fun, actually. So then I came up with this QVC idea. So we did, we asked all of our vendors that wanted to stick with us, because we were like, okay, we'll just move it to June, even though kind of knowing that like June might not happen, but let's just put a date on the calendar. And so we worked with the convention center. We said, okay, let's do June for the pop-up. So we invented this like called Girl Tribe Pop-a-thon, which was a huge argument because I wanted to call it Pop-up-a-thon and everybody else wanted to call it Pop-a-thon. Just doesn't sound like Popples, but it was fine because nobody understands that reference unless you're an 80s kid.
Popples. I love it.
I know. I still have a Popples in my house because my mom put it.
Oh my God.
So we had 100 vendors, and we gave them each 10 items, and we said, give us your 10 items, ship them to us, send them to us, drop them off, whatever it is. We will live sell 1,000 items, just me and Kerry, QVC style. And we set up an entirely different website and put all of the items on there. And we just took 15% of the sales. And that was just to cover credit card costs and shipping and anything like that. Like, we didn't make money on this project at all. It was literally just to give hope. So within 2 weeks of shutting everything down, we created an entire live QVC experience with 1,000 products. I sat and sold 500 unique products that I don't know, right? So we made slideshows so I could read them, and we like live streamed it on our Facebook group. We had this whole section of we had a whole unique website, and I was like picking things up, and I was like, this is a bath bomb, and it is made by, and I'm like squinting because I always have to wear my glasses, and I'm like, it's made by so and so, and it costs $12. $12 is a deal. $12. I'd like smell it. I'm like, I wish you could smell this. This smells great. I mean, I was literally like learning how to do QVC live, and we had just totally delirious, but had a great time with it, honestly. And most people were pretty happy with it. And I think the sales were like $30,000 for the weekend that went back to the vendors, which was great, because
that is awesome.
Yeah, it didn't give them nothing, right?
Right.
Gave them something during a time where we didn't know. And then the next thing we did was support your local girl tribe. So we started this campaign. We went back to basics. which I think is always important, right? Moving back to basics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do we do? We support women. What do? We make t-shirts. So we made a t-shirt to support women-owned businesses. And we talked with our accountant on how we did it. So $10 from every shirt went straight into a fund, and then you could apply for the fund, and you could get between $100 and $500, and it was just, that was it. You don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can do whatever you want with it. I don't care.
Right.
Here's the money. That was it. Because at the time, nobody was getting PPP yet, or we just didn't know, and so we have round 2 of that coming up, but and that was really
awesome.
fun. So we gave I don't remember what it was. I think it ended up like, $3,000 back to like different women-owned businesses in the community and elsewhere. They didn't have to just be in Charlotte, and that was cool. But going through the applications were just like, holy crap. Like, I kind of got myself in over my head.
Yeah.
Everyone, because you read these stories and you're like, whew,
Right.
And I was just like, dang, I don't know. And then, so that was cool. And so we did that. And then we just kind of went back to basics, and we were like, okay, well, what are some cool shirts that people might want right now? Or what are, whatever it is. And so we just started cranking content out. Kerry and I stayed in the office, and we had one other girl stay in the office with her. We sent everybody else home. And they all worked from home, which is not how our business runs. So it was really tricky and challenging. So that's kind of how we changed our business. And then when phase 2 came up, and we knew, we kind of could see it coming, and we saw it, and we're like, we're gonna wait a week. We're gonna wait a week.
Right.
So we waited a week for our store to open, and did all the floor markers, and I had my plans approved I'd been put in touch with this guy that runs the Retail Association of North Carolina, and he was kind of helping big box brands kind of come up with their opening plans too. And he went over and kind of gave me some tips and pointers, and was like, masks are gonna be really important, and steaming clothes after everybody tries on, and the whatever it was, And so we just did all that because, guess what? My business partner is a branding expert, so we were able to do it and brand it, and so we actually had a great time with it. I don't work the store right now just because of my husband, so I'm mostly in the office, but our store staff is great, and I work every once in a while, and it's definitely a different beast because I love working in the store. I love retail. I love selling things. I love interacting with people. So that is kind of how we pivoted, and we're surviving. We truly are. But every single day, every single hour in 2020 is different. And so it's just about listening and trying to figure out kind of next steps, and also like the great thing about 2020, and I hope that we look back and we say, like, what is our future, and like we have the opportunity to change it right now. So like, what do you really want? So
exactly.
That was the answer.
No, I definitely, I agree with you on all those points. I love the things that you did to support your community, to support your vendors, to help them to still be able to find some hope and light during that time, that's amazing. And like you said, 2020, a lot of people have, I hear a lot of people constantly say, like, let's just throw it away or let's start over. And I'm like, no, I feel like all these things are happening for a reason. And it is because, we do need to change. We need to change things within ourselves. We needed to slow down. We needed to, reconnect to the things that matter in our life, because everybody was just living such a busy life and moving and not breathing. And now, just as we obviously were getting used to dealing with coronavirus and living our lives indoors, or then came the call for protest against injustice, and the call for support in the of the Black community, African American and Black communities, and you guys immediately obviously everyone was super, like, it was a busy time on social media, and everybody's feed was saying something and doing something. And, I admire that you all took action quickly to show support for the Black women businesses in your community. And you featured them and you started to just have a conversation about it. So let's talk about that. Why did you feel it was important? Also, did you feel like you might say the wrong thing, or have you experienced any, backlash in your community from you all just, definitely being an ally and taking a stand?
Yeah, well, I just want to thank you for kind of having this conversation with me. I felt so positive after our last conversation. You as a Black woman talking to me and wanting to have a conversation. So thank you. So just thank you for that, because I so admire that and I so appreciate it. I really do. June. Was it June? What day are we in now?
Right.
But in all seriousness, everything started happening. George Floyd's death was, again, there are things that there are just not words for. And when that happened, it does sometimes feel that, and I'm not trying to like bash media or anything like that, but it's like, it did feel a little bit like, well, here's another one. And then, but what the Black community was like, no, it's not another one. This is real. And this is going to be the time that we're going to change. And, and I was just like, yeah, this is the time to change. We are slowed down. I can't imagine. And I'm just really mad and sad and all the things that it took this. It took this time. It took a virus to sit our butts at home to listen. I'm ashamed of myself and I'm ashamed of my community, but I think that we can do better, and I think that we want to, and I think that and we're listening for sure now. We really are. When you're talking about a loss of life and you're talking about discrepancies in the world and in our community, it's so hard to save the world. We can all just at least look at our streets and at least look at our schools and at least look at our communities and our churches. And you look at it and you're like, okay, I'm getting it. I get it. I have no idea where my voice lies in this. And I think right now, I don't know where my voice still lies in it, but I'm working through that. That's really what we are working through that internally right now. We're not putting a lot of that on social right now because I'm really trying to work through it. I'm like, you're right. You're right. And we're wrong. You're right. And I'm sorry. And I'm learning how to be an ally. And there are a lot of the things on social that were said that I was like, oh yeah, I say that all the time. Or like, I'm trying to think of like an example. Well, I'm not racist. And you're like, okay, well, Sarah, you like, they're not talking at you. They're talking with you. People are talking with you. Like, and it is fiery, and it should be. It damn well should be. And I'm sorry. And as a mom, I'm really sorry that this ever happens. And I don't know what my role is in it, but but I'm working on it. But I'm sure not going to be quiet. Yeah. But it's also not my time to speak. And then that is kind of what we felt like. We definitely are going to come out, and we are allies, and we are figuring out how to truly be allies. And then Kerry and I are having these conversations about how we grew up and how we can apply that and how we're learning about what people are saying, and then talking to our team about it. We're like, okay, what are our blind spots? Because there are some. And we are not going to say, oh, no, we stand for women, and not really dive into certain communities because we're scared to. We just got to do it. Yeah. And so we had some real conversations with our team, and so we said, then we asked, we were like, probably idiots. Like, in retrospect, I'm like, we could have asked things differently, but we're going to move on. We're all doing the thing that we need to do right this second, and the best way that we can, and trying to give each other grace. And, we said, okay, guys, what do you want to see from us? We're idiots. We actually had no idea that you wanted to see these things. And I think that that's a blind spot, right? To say like, I didn't know you wanted this from me, And then people are like, of course, you idiot. And you're like, okay, wow. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I messed that up. And I'm going to work really hard, not only to not mess up, but to just be better. Yeah. And then if I can find out like kind of how I can be better, truly, authentically be better, and not as a performance art, and not as just, you saw a lot of brands that were like, here's what we're doing. Da, da, da. And sometimes, people were getting, hey, you're just doing that just to do it. I think we're all figuring out how to do it. I think the time is now, and I think that we're working towards it. So I'm learning how to be a better ally to Black women-owned businesses. I have been sitting on these statistics for a while about Black women-owned entrepreneurs, and it's of course white males make the most, and then I think Black males, and then white females, and then Black females, kind of like towards the line. By a lot. They don't, like, the discrepancy is huge, to funding and this kind of stuff. So where do I live in that? Where do I live in that? And how can I actually help? And I'm still trying to figure that out. We're working on like sort of some like series of interviewing and stuff like that. I'm just kind of getting to it because I needed to take a moment back to really think about, like, I'm going to make real and serious change. Although I'm like, I can sound like sort of this very lighthearted person, I'm very serious. And if I have made my decision, I am going there and I'm not coming back. So we are going there, and we are going to make these changes where they are not just a couple of Instagram posts, that they are going to be felt. They're going to be roots, and then they're going to bloom. So yeah, I've been really interesting. I've been really interested in, oh my gosh, the shoe company that I can't afford, Brother Vellies. She did the 15% pledge, Aurora. She made up this 15% pledge that's like, 15% of shelves in United States, can we fill those with Black-owned businesses? Well, that's so easy. Like, oh my God. Yeah. And like, kind of, we already were doing that, but what we weren't doing, and this is where we messed up, is that we weren't highlighting them. And I was buying these things because I loved these things, and I loved these entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneur stories, just like you do. I mean, I love listening to podcasts, and I love their stories. I love their products. I think the girls in the stores would love it. But what I wasn't doing, I wasn't talking about them. I wasn't using my platform of 50,000 women to talk about them. And because they were and I'm going to do that. But there are plenty of other things that we're working on too, Yeah. I don't know what the question was. I have a lot of opinions about this. I
appreciate your answer. I think, as we talked before, I think you are taking the right steps. I mean, you're taking action, but you're also taking time to listen and to educate yourself and to implement change that is lasting and not just fleeting. That's one of the things that one of the main points that I've made to a lot of my friends or people that I've chatted with that are not Black is that, this isn't a fleeting moment for us. It's our lives. And so like, I'm Black 24/7, like all the time. So I think that,
that would as long as t-shirt.
Right, all the time. I think as long as you keep doing what you're doing, and having conversations and talking, and it's so funny because I saw there was an Instagram story that you posted where someone may have sent something to you that angered you about this topic, and I saw the fiery, like you said, like, yes, you're nice, but I saw the ally fiery Sarah come out, and I was telling my husband, I was like, look, like, this is her, look at, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. These are the allies we need. Like, we need people that immediately are going to speak against wrong. Like, they're not going to let you get away with sending a DM to them and saying something that's inappropriate. No, you're going to be called out. And so I really So I was like, well, there's our ally right there.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that. But yeah, we're working on it, and like I said, I want real and lasting change, and I don't want it. I don't want it just in my company, and so I've had a lot of really great emails with Black women too, and I've said this maybe to myself but not out loud. They're the conversations that I've always wanted to have but never knew how to start. And it was like, as a white woman, like, where do you start those conversations? And again, these are things that we should be ashamed of that we didn't. That it took you to start the conversation with me, and me, not the other way around. And because out of fear, and what does fear do? Like nothing.
Yeah.
Like fear will not enact good, positive change. So, like, let's have these conversations. Let's give each other grace, because we're going to mess up on both sides.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to say something that might not be great. People might say things back to me, and I'm like, ooh, that had a little, like, to it,
right.
Okay, give me a second. Yeah. Woo,
that song.
Yeah, that one. Oof. Yeah. And I mean, yeah. So yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, we get comments just like anybody else does. I mean, any platform, anywhere gets comments. And again, it's just like kind of going back to that, even that customer service thing with my first company, where like, okay, well, if you can just take a step back and see like what was the important thing that came out of that. And then there are people that just there are people in this movement, and that's a whole different conversation, that are jumping on just to bring people down. And that's not coming from Black women. I don't see that at all. I've seen the conversations I've had are tough, and I'm like, hey, just email me. I'd love to have a conversation. And then I'm like, wow, thanks. Thank you so much. And thanks for giving me grace. Like, I don't deserve it. So I didn't like quote take the 15% pledge, because I think that our store is probably a little more than that. I'm really excited about kind of the idea of that. I was talking to my brother. He lives in Seattle, and he was like, gosh, I wish you could have a pop-up shop featuring just women of color. And I was like, I know. I want to do that. That would be awesome. Obviously we can't have events right now, but that's a great idea. Again, it's just opening the conversation up. What do we want to do, and why? Why are we doing it? We're doing it because these women are awesome and have great ideas, and I have a platform, and I'm damn well going to use it for the good. Like, who cares about how many followers you have if you're not doing anything good? I could walk away from this business tomorrow if it's empty and still making money, but it's got to mean something. And like, at the end of the day, I care about women, and I need to really start showing that in different ways. And that's what we're doing.
Awesome. That's amazing. See, so now my audience, you see why I love her. So, well, this has been a wonderful, an hour with you that I've enjoyed. I mean, just like before, I mean, I think we could talk like on and on and on.
I know. I think we could too.
Which is great, because we can continue our conversations.
Yes.
But I really, really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. This is, like I said, it's been awesome. I'd like for you to let our audience know how they can find Gyrl Tribe, find you online, and where can they find you if they're in the Charlotte area.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, you can find us. I guess the first place we all go to is Instagram. I don't do TikTok. I just can't. I'm just too old. I can't. So it's at Gyrl Tribe Co. And then we also have a separate Instagram account now for our pop-up shop, because we did extend our online pop-up shop. So there's plenty of unique vendors all across the country that are part of our Shop Gyrl Tribe pop-up. And so that's at Shop Gyrl Tribe pop-up. And then you can find our stuff at girltribeco.com. Then you can go to the shopgirltribepop-up.com if you want to shop with our vendors. And then you can find us in Charlotte. We're at 1800 Camden in South End. We're right by Jenny's Ice Cream, which is, I mean, it's not a bad place to be. Speaking of
unless you're on a diet, I mean.
But otherwise it's a beautiful building, and so we're really excited to be in that neighborhood. It's really, really cool. And yeah, and then if anybody ever has any questions, or you can always email us at hello@girltribeco.com, and I respond to any conversational email, in time. I always respond to it. So we're here, and we're here for the conversation. And we appreciate you. So thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you again. And hope you have a wonderful day and a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. You too.
And stay tuned, guys. I will be right back. Are you ready to start a podcast but don't know where to start? Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you why. It's free. There's an easy creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be easily heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I am Kyra. I'd like to thank my guest, Sarah Baucom, again today for taking time out of her schedule to join me and have this conversation. If you guys are looking to learn more about them, please check out Gyrl Tribe online in their store if you're in the Charlotte area. And thank you all again for your support of this podcast. I know that everyone has busy lives and busy schedules, but I really, really appreciate you letting me spend some time in your ear, whether you're working out or you're working from home, or just whenever you make time and you listen to our episodes. If you're not following us on Instagram, do so, please, at Glow Up Girl. And if you have any comments or feedback, or if you know someone that you think we should interview on the show, don't hesitate to drop a line at hello@glowupgirl.com. So before I go, I'd like to leave you with a little glowspiration. Be the woman that fixes the next woman's crown without telling the world it's crooked. Until next time, stay focused, fabulous, and glow up.